Hello, everybody, and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Flynn, coming to you live from Sydney, Australia, here in Dharawal country. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Before we get started, we're going to have Dale Bigeni join us in a second. I've lost my little thumbnail. Doesn't matter. I'll do that at the end. Just wanted to tell you about Adobe Max London that is coming up, happening in 2 weeks. If you just Google it or you check out the link down the bottom, you can go and register for free and check it out. It's going to be amazing. There's some great speakers there. We're going to do a couple of shows leading up to it as well, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. For today, we are finishing our creative poster brief project with artist and illustrator and designer from Sydney, Australia, Dale Bigeni. Hey, Dale. How you doing, man?
Good, thank you, Flynn. Happy to be back. Last time, I think we'll get this one done this time.
It is. It's the last one. So if you guys are watching, you haven't seen these episodes before, you can go back, just check it out on YouTube, or it's in the playlist that this one is on, and you can see the beginning of this poster project all the way at the very start with blue line sketches by Dale, and you can kind of see the evolution of this poster, which I think is really cool because it has changed a bit each time, right,
Mhm.
Dale? You've kind of
Yeah,
sort of
and
reimagined what the project is and changed some of the elements and
I
refined
think I
pieces.
actually have changed my mind every time I've come in and kind of like, oh, I want to do this. But I think we've covered a lot of like cool, like little techniques and tips and stuff. So definitely worth a watch if you want to go back and have a look. Not to toot my own horn, but I think that you can kind of take away a lot of things, even though the graphics and the poster itself keeps changing.
Yeah.
The premise of creating is that doesn't change too much.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that's the thing about kind of, the creative process as well. Like it doesn't have to be linear. You sort of think, oh, I'm
No,
going to do the sketches, then I'm going to do the line work, and then I've got to do the
yeah.
color, and then I've got to move on to the next project. But that's never the way that it
No,
actually works.
I wish in a perfect world it was like that. But
Yeah.
I think as creatives, you kind of as you're drawing or you're working, you're always evolving. So this is where we're going to get to today. It's going to look different again.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's bring that up. I have just a quick little disclaimer that I'm using completely new software. So if I know I've got Johanna looking after me here in chat saying that everything's great, but if there's any sort of buggy stuff, then it's my fault, not Dale's. So um,
Thank you for that disclaimer.
yeah, so anything goes wrong, it's 100% my fault. All right, so we're in Photoshop. Do you want to kind of give us a kind of elevator pitch of where we're at? And
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so on the last stream, we kind of spoke about the digital inking side and my techniques and preferred, I guess, methods. And we spoke about we just kind of focused on this little skull graphic here. Um, we basically are going to go from all that talk and just park it for a little bit, and then I'm just going to go straight into like the final kind of steps and trying to get a finished product for everyone to have a look at today. I've decided I'm going to go completely Photoshop, even though we did discuss live trace vector versus raster,
yeah,
Photoshop, and stuff like that. I think for the sake of what I'm trying to achieve and the look I want, Photoshop's going to be my go-to today.
cool.
So yeah, basically this we spoke about digital inking and getting all that sort of stuff, and we're kind of at so I've just got a kind of got the cooking show version of one we prepared earlier.
Yeah,
So this is kind of all my digital lines in and all done in Photoshop. You can probably notice there's a little scorpion here now. We had a little gap there because some of my sizing and stuff was off. So I decided to pay homage to a fallen family member of ours, which was our little pet scorpion that we had. And it kind of fits the bill, you know, to me and my partner. Definitely we know this poster says home, and that's what the brief is. So
what's a scorpion like as a pet?
uh he's he's interesting. Like they're definitely interesting little like creatures, but I just think he was very like he's always hidden. They hide a lot. He only came out at night. He used to do like chin-ups on the top of his little cage. Like you'd see him crawl up and he'd just be hanging off the roof. So
Oh, really?
it was quite interesting to see how they react to different parts of the day. But unfortunately, I think he just didn't have the ample nutrition to survive. So
Yeah, right.
rest in peace, Zorro. He's gone.
Zorro, that was my next question. What was
Yeah,
his
little
name? Yeah,
Zorro.
little
So
Zorro.
there's Zorro and Dre the cat. So they're our two little pets.
Nice, lovely.
All
All
right.
right.
So this is it. This is like obviously I've gone in and the method of creating these lines and stuff that is always pretty much the same. I like to just use the hard round pressure size and I just go in and I'm just going to use this little space of my canvas to just explain the brush real quick. So I'm zoomed in a lot, but I like the hard round pressure size because it's got, again, I'm working on a tablet. I can get all my tapered lines. I'm not having to go in and change brush size too much. Brush kind of like styles and stuff stay the same the whole way through. But what I did do is I've created all my black kind of graphics and things like that. And you can see I've kind of organized myself a little bit for the first time in a long time in my layers panel. I've got like all my assets basically broken down. So if I was to actually, let's do it this way. So, all right, so in on my document, I've got like this individual outlines folder, and that is literally every part of the graphic kind of broken down into little sections. There's a bit of a mistake there. I drew some lines on the wrong layer, but that's fine. Um, I like to have these here separate kind of I draw them all and then what I do, I put them into a folder that just says individual outlines or original sketches. And then what I do is so I'll merge that group and I'll just create one whole piece. So this whole piece is kind of like my final, once I've got all my stuff into its position. I create one whole layer, especially for how I'm going to attack this kind of final part of the process. So I've got my merge layer. That doesn't mean I have to stick to that, but this is kind of where I'd like it to sit. This is the proportions and the layout that I've chosen and preferred. Then what I do is I start kind of, coloring each part individually. So it kind of makes no sense why this outline is there, but it's just because I need that there as my guide. The outline layer is, the strongest part of it, but I want to be able to still treat each part individually. So if I'm shading and I'm doing this home section, I might need to rub something out. I don't want to have to dodge around, bits and pieces of like the plant or the banner and stuff. At least this way it's on its own layer and I know I can go in there. I can add all the colors I want and I can just edit the home section. But the merge layer part of it is kind of so that I can go in there as well. And, if I want to just select, the inside of the skull, I can go in and I can just select that and work on that part. I don't have to worry about going into each individual layer and press on each, each each assets layer to kind of edit it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Because you'd be just
Yeah.
like clicking constantly. Like the workflow is just gonna. I mean, not only
Yeah.
will it take a lot longer, it's quite cumbersome.
Yeah, so this way, having it all in that one outlines merge layer, I can go in and click on whatever part I want of that artwork and add color or whatever. Um, I also know that by doing that, I can still go into my individual assets. Oops. So I can still go into, sorry, my individual outlines. And if I want, I'll just go and I'll grab each of these layers. I'll do a little example here. So just say I want to grab the skateboard graphic, which is down here. So I'm just going to turn off these. Get rid of all these ones. Where's my other layer? So
And a reminder as well, folks, while you're watching, if you have any questions, let us know. So we're live on Behance and we're live on YouTube.
All right, so what I would do on this layer, I'll just grab another copy of this and I'll just move it up into, sorry, I'm trying to get it out of this section here. So I'll just drag it to the top, get rid of my individual one, and then I just like merge these together just so that I can go in and then I can just select the outside of, the actual graphic here and just select these little bits so that I know that I can make a base layer. Then I'll do Shift Alt. What happened there? Oh yeah, sorry, Command Shift I, and I'm just inverting it, and then just gonna do a solid color, and then I can make a base layer for that, and now I've got like a base layer that I can work on for this skateboard graphic, and then now I can just use that, and this would become my outline layer, and the individual outlines would just stay there for safekeeping. So if I stuff something up completely, I can bring it back from the dead and go over it again.
Yeah.
So, all right, so that's that. Now I'm gonna get rid of that. We're gonna start talking about finishing and kind of like what I want to do with this. So I've got all my layers. It's a little bit crazy to look at because I feel like there's a lot going on. But I know that while I was building it, what everything means and why it's there. So all I need is my background, and then I just want to have like start building, you know, color kind of layers and stuff like that on each part of this. So this is kind of where I got to last night. Really quickly, I just started shading this, and I decided I'm not going to use any color. I'm just going to use some gray tones and things like that, some
Yeah.
highlights, some shadows and stuff. Um, so I'm just going to move this layer up here. So I did the banner and the heart, and all I'm doing with this is I'm creating like these individual assets. So I've got the scorpion has his color done, the skateboard has it, the skull has it, and the cat has it. So they all got their own base layers sorted already. And then I just pull out of here. So just say we're going to do the skateboard. I just pull the skateboard out of there, and I'm going to create another folder. Name him the skateboard. So now it's got the base layer, and you can see on the heart, like I went a little bit kind of like just kept one layer. I think I had two and then I just merged them, but it's just like was to keep the dark gray and the white separate. So if I had to change or delete things, so I'll do that on the skateboard. So we'll go in, and what I like to use is the soft round pressure, opacity, and flow for this particular technique that I'm going to do. And then I turn the mode to dissolve. And what it does, it gives me, I'll create a new layer, and I can get this darker gray color. Get a bit bigger on the brush. And then when I do this, actually, I'm going to use the other one. We'll use the soft round pressure opacity. So I can just go in and everything's changed here, but that's fine.
It's like a spray paint effect.
Yeah, it's got like a bit of grit to it.
Yeah.
It kind of keeps it from being too clean as well. And then we spoke about this in the last stream, but like, and then I just go in with this hard round pressurized eraser and just like, oops, sorry, just cut back on these colors where I don't need it.
Yeah.
So I could mask it, do clipping masks and things like that, but I think it's just like we said last week, sometimes there's some beauty in and kind of like some relaxation in treating things like, you know, it's not digital and you're kind of still crafting it by hand completely.
Yeah, for sure.
Like there are a lot of ways to make your workflow easier and just in general like a lot less stressful.
Mm.
But this is kind of like I'm just gonna build up like, and with this brush it kind of like dissolves into nothing. So I like to just like use it quite lightly, and then I just like start developing some shading, some highlights and things like that.
Is that the same brush, or did you switch to eraser then when you like
Yeah, I
came
went to
back?
eraser.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, yeah, it's all right.
I did a quick little switch. But yeah, so I just go in and kind of like work on these with this kind of one color for starters. I do all the dark parts, so I just work on everything that I know that's dark. And if it kind of gets to a point where you know I can't switch to the eraser and or like it's getting a bit complicated because sometimes you might do something like this where you've already cut back on this part here, but then while you're shading there, this might go into there. You can either just obviously Control Z, or I'll just make another layer and just so that way I can get a bit like kind of more, you know, be a bit looser and not worry too much about what's happening on the other layer. Because if I grab the eraser, it's only going to get that layer there. So it's kind of just mostly about like kind of layer building, but not like it's
Mm,
because eventually it's all going to merge for me because I already know that that's the intention. I only want to have one layer so that at the end of it all, I can have the ability to change kind of the tonal value or colors in it.
yeah. And
So
it's
yeah,
it's
just
like you're really sort of focusing on the shadows, like where might the shadows fall?
yeah. For now, I just kind of like go in and I kind of I'm a little bit silly sometimes with this stuff. Like I don't really get too passionate about light sources and things like that, especially when
Mm,
it's kind of like, especially with things like this, where it is kind of like it's an abstract piece. Well, when I say abstract, there's not anything here that's happening that is like, oh man, why is the light so far off? That doesn't look right. Because at the end of the day, it's like, well, there's a cat wearing glasses and there's a scorpion wearing,
right.
oh, like he's got there's nothing real happening here, so I'm not too not too precious about like it not being completely correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just go in and try to get it so that it feels like there's some shape and like some dimension.
Plus, you're
And
adding
it's
all that texture in, right? Like everywhere that you're
yeah,
putting in.
exactly. So and I like this kind of gritty texture, kind of like um I think, well, I'm very much like interested in kind of tattooing and stuff like that. And there's like a stipple effect in tattooing that's very similar to this. And it kind of like is cool that, Photoshop's been probably doing a stipple effect longer than people have been tattooing it. And it's kind of, you can emulate that kind of look without even, it's not even a special brush. It's literally a standard brush
Mm.
converted to the dissolve mode. So,
What do
you
you call
know,
it? A stipple effect.
yeah, it's like stipple, like, or they call it like pepper shading and things like that.
Mm.
And it's kind of like I don't want to say it's exactly like this, but you look at tattoos if you are online, you'll see there's like this really like um traditional tattoos are very bold and very like solid the colors, where now this new generation of tattoos that have come about are very much like this, where it's quite soft and
Mm.
it gets really good like values and stuff, and I think it's like a really beautiful way of like creating, and I think it's nice that I can emulate it, I guess, especially knowing that this is kind of meant to look like a tattoo flash sheet but
Yeah.
my own version. So um leaning into other kind of art forms and getting some inspiration from them is always kind of like something I like doing. A lot of my art kind of leans on someone else's art form.
Yeah. And that's it. I forgot about that as part of the kind of idea. So for those watching that, you may have seen some of, we've had quite a few artists and illustrators and designers kind of tackle this idea of what is home. And so that's kind of where the idea, that's basically the brief, really, like a poster based on what home is to you. And yeah, I actually forgot. It's been a while since we did that first one, but yeah, that whole
Yeah,
idea of it was a flash sheet for like a tattooist might have, and that's kind of the original idea
yeah,
of not trying to replicate that and make it one to one, but that
no,
was the inspiration of kind of the composition, which is really
and
cool.
yeah, I think it's an interesting way, like to kind of uh, describe or like tell your story, I guess. And tattoos tell lots of stories, so I guess it kind of all made sense to me in
Yeah.
the beginning.
But as we were talking about before, like things evolve, right? Like the project
Yeah,
can
absolutely.
can evolve, like, and that can happen on personal projects, but also obviously with clients as well. Like you can show. I'm going through this at the moment with someone that we've kind of just a simple logo and everything, but the evolution of the project from where it began is not unrecognizable, but it's so different
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
don't think we would have got there without going through the process, which I think is really key to like the creative process working with the client. And
Well, yeah,
it's interesting because I feel like if I just showed the final, and it's literally just a 2 word logo, like this is the logo. They're not a big company or anything. It's just going to be like a website, maybe business card down the track, that kind of thing.
yeah,
But there's been so much back and forth
yeah,
over time that we've both kind of landed on. This is the base font. I like this version. This is like
yeah,
even to the width of certain things. Um, but without going through that process, if we started with that at the beginning, it wouldn't have been right either.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
had
Yeah.
to go through the back and forth of what do you think of this? And this could work well here. Here's a mock up of where it might be. Imagine yourself in 10 years. Would you be happy with this? That kind of stuff.
Yep. Well,
Um,
isn't it? I don't know where I heard it, but I've always thought it was a very true statement. People don't know what they want until they see what they don't want,
yeah,
and like evolving is a part of that. Like, they say, oh, I want a skateboard with flames, but then they see the skateboard with flames, like, actually, that doesn't make any sense. Can we,
yeah,
so the evolution, like for client and artist, is quite important, I think, and you have to be open to it, of
totally.
course.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the thing with the clients, one of those they call it soft skills, right? But like, is taking the client through that process can be a
Oh
very
yeah.
long, takes many years to learn, and I think a lifetime to kind of try to master. But
Well, I think that is with that said, Flynn, I think that's why people pay designers to do their designs and don't just go to somewhere like Canva, or somewhere like the where it is just an artificial representation of what they kind of type in or want from
yeah,
some, and people, you're paying for the experience that people like Flynn, myself, like you've had like you've got the knowledge of like why you do this evolution, why you do these steps in the process and things like
mm,
that. Otherwise you kind of just go and end up in a kind of like a generic kind of format. You don't get anything interesting. It's just like it almost feels like AI, like it's like you've
mm.
typed something in and yeah, that'll do. Like I just need it quickly. Quickly is not always the key, as you can see, while I take forever to color a flower.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I mean, there's been shortcuts to getting design done and artwork done for a long before AI was in our hands and stuff.
Yeah,
And it's not, you know, collapsed any industry or anything like that.
nah, absolutely.
I remember when some of those websites came out where I won't mention it by name, but there's a couple of them I think where it's like you can, for very cheap, you can kind of say, "Hey, I just want a logo," and they kind of
Yep,
mock you one up quick and go, "Here you go," and you get,
yep,
it's $20 or five dollars or something.
yeah.
And man, I remember when that website launched, that rocked the design world for sure.
People like, there goes our
There
job.
goes
There
our
go,
jobs. Yeah, there goes
yeah,
everything. We're done.
yeah,
It's all over. And I'm old enough to remember that. And flash in the pan, really. Like
yeah.
it just
And
wasn't
it,
an
and it,
issue.
and you're still here doing what you thought you wouldn't be doing because of sites like that.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
stand strong. I think the design community stands strong against you know all of that sort of stuff. I don't think I've ever really sat there going, oh, I'm not going to be able to do the job I do because of these advancements. I think you kind of move with it, but defy it as much as you can.
That's it. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
Cheeky,
so I'm
cheeky
just
little
kind of like,
insight. Design industry insight. Yeah,
yeah,
you were
from
saying?
from people that have probably just been burnt enough times to know that, like, it hang in there. It's not as hard as it seems.
Yeah, that's true.
Just gotta tough it out. But that's kind of like the vibe I'm gonna try to get across all these parts, and it is just like it's giving more of a like a graphite kind of like pencil feel.
That's it. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I was trying to
Yeah, it's
trying to vocalize how it made me feel, but yeah, that's it.
yeah, it's kind of it's definitely got like a pencil feel to it.
Mm.
Then I might just add like a little bit of white. Like, to be fair, I probably am working much faster than I'd want to on a kind of finished piece, but the premise of what I'm doing is like very kind of like that it doesn't change. This is the same process I'd use. I'd probably spend a lot more time on it. Obviously, when it's like client work or personal work, there's always that shift in how long you should spend on a piece. But you know, we're on a deadline here, guys.
Sometimes you just got to get
I,
stuff done.
yeah, you just got to get it done.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Like I love it zoomed in because you can see the detail, but then zoomed out, it really has that like chromatic
Yeah,
3D kind of effect. Like it's really popping like off the page.
yeah. It's I think it's
A lot of depth.
a nice way to kind of add a lot of like just texture to it overall.
Mm,
And I know I said I've got all these layers, but today I'm just gonna go in and go a bit crazy here and just kind of create this as quick as I can because I want to try to get this on. This is a challenge for myself to complete it for you.
yeah, like a time
So
challenge.
I'm gonna make sure it's under the black, not over the black. Rookie mistake. But yeah, it's kind of like it's we speak about it a lot. Doing things kind of the long way around is sometimes very therapeutic, and it's not that anyone's trying to escape anything, but art has always been my escape from a lot of stuff, and doing things the long way around. I have a lot of people like they don't call me out, but I know they tell me, "Oh, why would you do it that way? You know, you can do this, this, this." It's like
Mm,
that's cool. That's great. Like I'm sure I can, but today, this is how we're doing it.
yeah,
And I think that's an important thing to remember as an artist as well. I don't know if people are watching this to learn business skills or life, life lessons, but do what makes you happy.
just don't ask me about taxes. I still don't know.
Yeah,
Always feel like everyone needs like a lawyer and an accountant in their family, like just to
at
give you
least,
actual
yeah,
actual advice. And I don't have either. I feel like
yeah,
they come in handy, like the most handy people you could have. Like it's great to have a designer and an illustrator in your family. That's lovely, but when push
yeah.
comes to shove,
Look, I think in life you want people like tradesmen and yeah, lawyers.
that's true.
we
Yeah,
we can only make art look cool for you. That's about it.
that's
So
it. I'm not building a house. Um, yeah,
but yeah, it's kind of like this is a very like it's you can see it's quite quick to get a result that I'm quite happy with. It could be obviously a little bit like finessed a little bit more, but like it's quite a quick process to do this kind of style, and I've done it a few times, but I know that a lot of what I do nowadays is vector and it's very fine tuned and
yeah,
it feels very polished. And that's mostly because I think over time, I guess clients have lent more towards that when they hire me. So, you know, do it whatever way suits you though.
where would you? It's probably been a while since we spoke about this. Where do you get like most of your clients? Is it still Instagram that like people would
Um,
reach out and word of mouth? Is that kind of the main?
I think most of it is existing kind of like relationships that I've had over years.
Yeah,
But yeah, a lot of I think they're still channeling a lot through Behance to be honest, which is weird because I don't update Behance very often.
yeah,
Truth be told, I'm kind of very bad at it, and I get a lot of people like, "Hey, I just saw you on Behance," or "So and so told me to come and see you," and that they showed me your folio on Behance, and it is really old. You can go look at it if you want. It's it's a little bit. It's not completely old, but there's a lot of old stuff there. But I think it's the power of Instagram. I don't have TikTok. Refuse to get it. Just complete like, yeah, just can't do it. I don't know if it's just me being
I don't
me.
have it either.
I just think it's too much. I think there's a lot of perks to having it, and that would be that a lot of people are on it, and maybe it's extra eyes. But I'm happy. I'm happy being on Instagram and just doing what I do.
Yeah, yeah. No, I haven't dove into there. I probably should as well.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know. What would we get out of it, Flynn? You reckon?
well, that's
Just
it. It's just
just extra
how
eyes.
many more things to look at? How many? At the end of the day, how much time do you have in the day? I think if I was like really reaching out, like trying to change industry or like launch a new project and stuff,
Absolutely.
like I've done stuff for, very small clients when they're like, oh yeah, we want to have a TikTok. It's like, well, great. Like, it's not a big difference of doing a brand like quick little logo mock up for their TikTok account. There's not really much.
Yeah,
But if it comes to like, hey, by the way, do you create video for TikTok? No.
yeah.
Nope,
Look,
no
I,
way.
I we all dabble in it, I think. Like everyone's kind of making videos all the time. Like, you think you're not, but kind of it always feels like I'm making something for someone or,
Yeah.
for some channel. But yeah, I'm definitely getting most of it still through Instagram, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is coming through the Behance network, which is great because that's what that platform's, you know,
Yeah,
designed
not an
for.
ad. That was not expected.
No,
I
no.
have heard other Illustrator. Maybe it's an Illustrator thing. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've heard other illustrators say that. Um, and I know Instagram's probably the biggest one, the most common answer, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm just trying to run my mind through who said what. But yeah, it does. Maybe it is an Illustrator thing. Maybe it's because it can be big.
Well, that's what I was
Maybe
gonna
it's
say. That
clients use their laptop instead of their phone to look for
Yeah,
like
I was
there's
gonna
just
say
something like
that.
that, like something.
The little, what are they called? The thumbnails, the squares that
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah,
we can put. I usually make mine really big, and you can add heaps of work in progress and video and stuff. So
yeah,
it's quite I don't know, and I think Instagram's just the easy platform. Like there's a lot of work on there, and then there's a direct link to the person usually. So
mm,
maybe that's why people approach the Instagram thing the way they do.
yeah,
Um, I know if I'm hiring someone or I need something done, I'm definitely not going on either. I'm still looking on Google kind of thing.
yeah. Just kind of Google and see what pops up, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not usually hiring artists for the obvious reason that I don't really need it. But if I
Mm.
need a plumber, I don't go look for his Instagram.
You probably don't want to do that.
Yeah,
Don't tap
sorry. So
following. We have a question
yeah,
in chat. Thanks, Nix. Once this poster is complete, what would be the best sizes, like the specifics, sizes, such paperweight, to have it printed on, or is it all personal preference?
yeah, I would say it's all personal. I think it's definitely personal preference. I also think that bigger isn't always better. I think like sometimes like a nice A3 size is cute on the wall. It doesn't kind of like distract from everything else that's happening in the house. I think people always kind of like um they kind of want that they live in that bigger is better world, we all do. But
Mm.
yeah, I think something is like something subtle, something kind of humble for your home. Um
It's so funny you should say that because I'm looking on the other side of my camera, a 3, A0, and then an even
oh
bigger, I think like B0 or something size um, frames that I love, but
yeah.
they're so hard to put anywhere in
Yeah,
like
they take up heaps of space at that size.
because I bought them when I was living by myself. I had like a one bedroom
Yeah,
apartment bachelor pad. So my room and my, lounge room, that was it. And it was my choice. So I just put them up. But
yeah.
now yeah, it's very difficult to kind of find room. House isn't an art gallery. It's full of junk, right? Like it's
Oh, well, good thing Nick's asked that question because obviously she's my partner and she's she's probably planning on wanting this in the house somewhere. So I'm just gonna say we should maybe post-it note size. We've got so much art in the house.
yeah, that's cool. It's great. Love that. Thanks for the question, Nix. They're also saying that Zorro will glow in the dark at
Yeah,
night.
he does. He did. We
What?
used to have a Well, he didn't glow per se. We had a black light and you'd
Oh,
shine
right.
it on him and he was, yeah, luminescent. He was blue. He was like that green, and it blew my mind because when during the day he was just brown or like a dark kind of dark color. So it's like, how does yeah, look, well, I wasn't a scorpion professional by any means. I just one of the kids wanted it, and it ended up our little pet that we all that me and my partner looked after, and
Yeah.
we didn't do a great job. Sorry, Zoro.
It's quite a
But
unique
yeah,
animal to keep around.
yeah, it was kind of like having fish, but it was a little bit more interesting just because he looked
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Because my mum was a veterinarian.
Oh,
So
nice.
growing up, there were always lots of different animals, and I don't think I ever remember like scorpion. Like I don't know what you do with a scorpion if it's not feeling well. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I
well,
think it's a
and
binary existence. It's either doing well or it's not there anymore.
Well, that's what I thought. I was like, he buried himself in the sand half the day. So how do I know if he's feeling
Yeah,
well? I
yeah,
just thought he was tired.
yeah.
He was definitely tired. He took his eternal dirt nap.
There we go.
But this is kind of like, as I'm going through this, I'm kind of like, I'm not even really paying too much attention to what I'm doing, to be honest, Flynn. I'm kind of just like coloring as I go, and
Yeah,
it's giving me exactly what I want. Like when you zoom out, it's kind of like I've just added these shadows in to
yeah,
get like shape and dimension to it, but it's working really well. Like it's that brush technique is applying just the right amount of texture to it, and it's just applying just the right amount of like depth and shadow to it. Like I
yeah,
said again, the more you build up, anyone will tell you that the more layers you start using, the more kind of sorry, the more shade and shadows and highlights. Obviously, the artwork just keeps building up and getting better and better. And I think this is no exception to that. If I was to not add this white in here, it would just look like the flat glasses. But all I'm doing is adding this tiny little bit of white to the parts of his face, and it's kind of giving it a little bit more like lift. And I think that's the power of, I guess, exploration.
mm,
Like I said, I don't sit there going, "Oh, this is my light source. It's all got to be so perfect." Because when I zoom out on that, I can still see what everything is, and I know what I'm looking at here.
yeah,
I just go a bit bigger if I can here. But yeah, like it looks exactly how I want it. Like I've got kind of like this. It feels chrome and it feels chromatic, but it's not polished and it's not perfect, and it's kind of exactly what a flash sheet is when I look at it on the wall at a tattoo shop. It's kind of there are these imperfections done by hand that
yeah,
you you want to feel like it's done by a human, and it's not just kind of like a generic piece of art, like kind of like clip art put together and stuff like that. So yeah, this is kind of like where I'd kind of want it, but I'd probably I think I'd go in and probably make a few layers behind the actual artwork. So I might just go and do that. I might add some like white, kind of like glows behind it, see if it lifts it a little bit or see if it's a shadow we need. So I just created another layer down here, and I just get a bigger brush. Oh, this artwork's being created quite big.
it's funny since last time we were talking about the plant on the top right, the monstera, which I always call a
Yeah.
monster plant. I was looking at them the other day in
Oh
our
yeah.
local hammer barn, and yeah, they're so expensive right now. They're like $120 for like
What
well,
about that? Hey, like
that
it's
one you have there with four like frongs or whatever.
like this one.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
that would probably be about 120 to $150 at the moment.
Yeah, and you know what? You can be patient. Like my partner bought a small one quite a while ago, and now it's it's not big because we've still got it in a kind of medium-sized pot, but she's done well to get it really big, and it's like they're so beautiful to look at. They give off nice shadows and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I can't fathom how we're all surviving in 2025. Like I used to think, oh, petrol's so expensive. Have you seen the price of a plant
It's all right.
for
Things
oxygen?
things are looking up, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
So
dear.
I'm just adding this white behind here, and again, no rhyme or reason what's going on here, but it's like it's straight away like lifting this art, and
Yeah, it's giving
now
it
it
like a
feels like
glow popping off the
yeah,
page. Mm,
it kind of feels like I used to watch my dad draw on black paper, black cardboard, and he
mm.
used to love doing drawing on black. Like maybe I should show you one day, but it's like it has that same sort of feel where you like kind of reverse drawing, like
Yeah.
the dark gray background, so, sorry, light gray background with this white on top's really like I don't know, it's got there's something working here.
Mm. Yeah, totally. So he would draw on like black card, like
Yeah,
yeah.
like he'd get card. I wish I had one that was like around. But yeah, he's renowned for like getting black card and drawing like dragons and hot rods and things like that. And
Mm.
I'll post one up on my Instagram. It's like he's really, really like I think it's another level of like skill
Yeah.
to work like that. I I sometimes shoot myself in the foot with stuff like this. I'll draw it on a white background, knowing that it's going to go on a black shirt, and then I have to rethink
Uh,
certain parts of it. So yeah, but
yeah, it's
this
not as
is kind
simple
of
as like just inversing everything. It doesn't work
no,
that way.
no, and I definitely know that everyone's been caught
You've
out
done that
once
the
or
hard
twice
way.
at
Yeah,
that. Yeah, learned the hard
definitely.
way.
Me too.
But yeah, this is kind of look, to be fair, with this, I think it's going to look quite finished, but I think I might spend a couple more hours on kind of really fine tuning it because I think this has the legs to go quite far, you know.
Yeah.
And again, that's all come from like redeciding what I wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. Just that refining down.
Yeah, but it hasn't like I've literally used the same brush and eraser technique for that whole time. I haven't changed much at all, actually. It's just kind of the sizing of the brush. I might,
Mm,
you know, switch between, but other than that, it's the process can be that easy. I think people can be discouraged by thinking artists have all these really dramatic methods and stuff.
yeah.
I'm here to tell you that I am the most like chill when it comes to everything. That like drawing's no exception. Like I try to do the least amount of moves to get the result I want, and it works. Sometimes it doesn't, but you know, part of the process, part of learning.
Mm, not
Oops.
totally.
But yeah, these little white glows helping. I thought it was going to be a darker color would have been what I needed, but I like this. I'm just
Looks
gonna
awesome.
keep, yeah, like I think it's giving the right amount of kind of like texture feel without like over texturizing. Like I
Mm,
do sometimes. I have a bad habit of adding too much grain or too much something, and it kind of chops the artwork a little bit. Like it doesn't feel at all how I want it. But I get a nice soft feel of this poster, even though I began this thinking that it was going to be for my area, which is Blacktown 2148. It's a bit rough. It's a bit, you know, marked as rougher part of Sydney, but like I wanted it to feel like beautiful for me. Like and it is the I guess what I wanted to capture is right there. Like it's everything that means something to me and says home,
yeah.
but it also says it in a, you know, it says it in a bit of a street, of course, tattoo kind of like tougher style, I guess.
Mm,
I just have to finish that little the text up here, which is gonna be hard because I've used the dark gray as like the main color, so I'm gonna have to do another little bit of a darker color here.
I think it's really cool. Like such a good interpretation. Like if you talk about like the area being like a little bit rougher, but it's like it's rougher, but it polishes up really well. Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
kind of like a nice um, little thing about it. It's like you get into real details. It might be a little bit gritty, or it's
yeah,
got a bit of attitude or whatever. But if you look at it as a whole picture, it's really beautiful and it all comes
yeah.
together. Yeah, it's really nice.
And I think we've got that part of the brief now. And I think it says
Yeah, the
home to me, and
metaphor
it
is
says
solid.
yeah, it definitely says what I wanted it to say. And at the end of the day, as much as this was a client brief supplied by Flynn here, it was still about what we wanted home and what says home to us. And I'm actually pretty chuffed with it. I've just highlighted, or obviously the shadow blocks at the back there.
Mm,
Just and had to add an extra bit of color because I wanted it to kind of feel like there was some depth going on there.
yeah.
And then I'm gonna add some, instead of using white, I'm gonna use this little the lighter gray here, just on the edges. Whoops. Oh, I just did the biggest crazy move, and I did that all in one way, guys.
Hmm.
I can tell you all day not to, you know, merge things, but I'll be the first to do it. Oh man.
Do as I say, not as I do. As
Yeah.
we're wrapping up, as I said at the beginning, I'm using new streaming software, so I'm just going to try and do something live. If it doesn't work, I'll
Hey,
just tell
hey,
you.
go for it.
I'm just switching to our talking heads camera, and then I'm hoping that this little thing is going to come up. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Hopefully you can still hear me. The Adobe Max Creativity Conference in London is happening on Thursday, the 24th of April. I've shared a link in Behance chat, and there is also one on YouTube down the bottom if you're watching this on a replay. There's also a QR code on the screen right now if you want to register using your phone. Definitely check it out. We're going to be doing some content around it. We're doing like a countdown show the hour beforehand because it's in London, which is going to be really fun. So that'll be like an evening thing with our buddy Jeremy Lord, our mutual friend with Dale, our buddy Jeremy Lord. So we'll be doing that live from the studio, which will be really fun. Register now. There's heaps of stuff that's happening. There's going to be announcements that we're going to speculate on. We're going to talk about the different speakers that are there and stuff like that. And I thought I would share that today as we wrap things up because we're actually out of time.
Awesome.
This is amazing. So we'll leave it out. Like, let's have like a final kind of look at it.
All right.
Oh, this is so cool, Dale. And again, if you missed the beginning, if you're just kind of joining us or you joined the second half, you can jump back through and see this whole poster from scratch. Came in with blue lines, sketching live here on Adobe Live, and you can see the whole evolution of how Dale achieved this kind of look and the purpose and the reason. As Dale and I talked a lot of junk. We always have a good chat while we're talking.
Absolutely. It's always a good time, Flynn. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. And guys, yes, please do go register for Adobe Max London. It's all free as well, so you can just jump in there and check it out. And we'll be in touch between now and then with some more stuff. Thanks again, Dale. Thank you, Johanna, for looking after us. And we'll see you all next time on Adobe Live.
Yeah, cheers.